Hello everyone and welcome back to the second installment of Replay Analysis with the Pros. Today we have three-time battle-hardened champion Peter Buddensiek, who, I don't know, at this point you're kind of a mainstay on the show. You've been on so many times. You're basically just another co-host. How have you been, man?
It's been great. It's been great. Yeah, just always hanging out with the boys at Arsenal Pass. Multiple installations. Was good friends with Brennan and Hayden back in the day as well. So glad to be here. This past weekend I was in calling Sao Paulo, which was an amazing time. Shout out to the locals in Sao Paulo. Just made everybody feel welcome, and the energy there is something that I've never experienced in a card game before. Just like every single person happy to be there, passionate about the game. It was amazing.
You messaged me about it afterwards, about how welcoming the locals were, and they were like taking you out to dinner every night, taking pictures with you and everything.
Yeah.
It sounded like such a blast to be there.
I'm Michael Hamilton's personal cameraman. I think I took over like 100 photos of Michael Hamilton this past weekend, and it was fun to see.
You're basically the paparazzi. Do you have any embarrassing photos? That'll be cool.
I definitely have some embarrassing photos of the gang this weekend. But yeah.
Alright, so speaking of Sao Paulo, we're gonna go over one of your games at Sao Paulo today. The game one on stream, where you, instead of bringing your normal wizard shenanigans to these callings, you brought Vynnset this time. Can you tell us about that pick?
Yeah, I had to represent the girl here. Long time chain enjoyer way back in the day. So I specifically think the deck has gotten significantly better than it has been in previous sets. I think both the 1-for-4 that came out in Rosetta, especially the other Rosetta cards, Malefic has been huge for the deck, Dirge has been huge for the deck, and Cole specifically from this last set have really pushed it from a position where I was quoted saying the deck was unplayable like 2 sets ago, and to now being something that it brought to a calling, a pretty high level experience. I think the deck is just well positioned. I think its Aurora matchup is very good, and you can navigate these fatigue matchups very, very carefully to try to get out that victory. And I think everything has gotten a lot easier, more consistent with the deck. Still has some flaws, but sometimes you got to roll with the punches on that.
Super looking forward to hear your insight as we get into this game. Do you have, I guess, any high-level stuff about the Vynnset versus Zen matchup before we get into the gameplay itself?
Yeah, this is specifically one of the matchups I don't really want to see. I think it's about a 45% matchup. Something that Zen can do, and we'll see, is kind of switch up their game plan in the middle of the game depending on what is happening. They have a good, damage base, with Chase the Tail lines, but they also have 30 some blues in their deck. So they're able to pitch for against the rune chance that I get to build up. Zen State Token is really, really good against Vynnset as well. And they have a high block value a lot on their cards. So they threaten fatigue and they threaten killing you through damage at both times during the game, have great equipment and, just the chi and traverse stuff. So it is kind of a really tricky matchup and something that I don't want to see. But it does depend on how comfortable the Zen is in the matchup.
It kind of seems like they fork you in very, very difficult ways. With that, that's enough preamble. Let's get into the gameplay. Okay, so we're into the gameplay now, and Peter, I believe you won the die roll here and have chosen to go first. Can you tell us why you chose to go first here?
Yeah, won the die roll, which is kind of reported on Vynnset. If you look at the data, going first versus second is actually pretty decently advantage going first with Vynnset. Specifically, the reason I want to go first as Vynnset is if you go second, you're always going to start with 0 rune chance on your first turn with Vynnset, and you need to banish 1 card from your hand, so you go to 1 rune chance. But it's really hard to generate rune chance and have go again in this deck on the very first turn of the game. So most of the time, you're just going to banish a card, and then take a damage and then pass your turn. So on this turn, example, Malefic also on turn 0 is super, super huge for the deck as well, and setting up that kind of a 4-card hand. I always kind of joke that Vynnset actually realistically starts under 40 because you take so much blood during the game, with example of me starting at 39 basically this game, but trading to be able to have an attack in my banish zone that I can play for the next turn, and setting up a Malefic, which is huge. something also on this turn 0 that was pretty important is I arsenaled a Cole, and a lot of the times I'm going to get a lot of value from Zen specifically because they can play good 4-card hands and keep that last card for their arsenal the majority of the time. And I'm trying to snipe that last card with the Cole and kind of disrupt their turn, especially like chase the line turn, chase the tail turns, and other things. Cole is really good against that.
I think you arsenaled Revel and you kept the Cull in hand.
Oh, yes,
and you put a Deathly Delight in Banish, which was super interesting because you could have banished the Cull and then played the Cull and then ended up with Deathly Delight and Banish anyway. But I guess you really value the making your opponent banish a card when it matters instead of turn 0, right?
Yeah, in some situations, depending on what I draw, it's better to have the attack 100%. Like, if I have to, block out with the majority of my cards and I get stuck with a card that I don't want to keep as much, then having the attack is pretty good. Also, 90% of the time, I'd probably say that I'm playing the attack from my banish zone on this turn, if I need to. And keeping Cole in banish, I don't want to give the information that I have a Cole in my hand as well to my opponent on turn 0, which can negatively impact my situation of being able to cast her or not.
Yep, that makes sense. Your opponent had a CNC on a turn you're holding Reduce Your Rune Chant, which is obviously super, super unfortunate. So you had to block 6 and just sending Deathly Delight, just holding back the Reduce Your Rune Chant, which is super convenient because you still have this Malefic that's gonna trigger and give you a Rune Chant at the end of this turn. So your Reduce Rune Chant, unless you get CNC'd again, can at least be cast for free.
Yeah. Also, keeping the Revel is always going to be very good because I'm going to go to 1 Rune Chant after this Malefic, but I can't really play a 3 cost because I only have 1 Rune Chant at that time, because I'm just going to banish 1 card, go to 2 Rune Chants off of Vynnset ability, but Revel allows me to that 3 and really start that 3 into 2 into 3 chain. That's going to matter a lot in this matchup as well, trying to get to that 3 to be able to play the more power cards in Vynnset. The 2 costs in the deck are kind of weak. You kind of have to play them because they're kind of the glue of the deck, because you end with 2 Rune Chants a lot of the time when you have 1 Malefic. But when you can get to that 3 Rune Chants per turn, it's super, super solid. He has obviously a very good play on this turn. Gets to do the double chi thing to basically AB my Rune Chants for free and minuses 1 as well on my attack, so just comes in for 4 here. But yeah, getting a life here would be very important for me just to keep my life total higher, because I'm going to take so much blood debt. I've already taken 1 blood debt. I'm going to take a 2nd blood debt on this turn, just kind of set up more things. But he actually double blocks it, which was pretty surprising to me at the time, because he could have just played a 5-card hand to really punish me here. But his hand was a little bit awkward from what we can tell.
Also, just one thing real quick for the viewers. This was the first game of the day in Sao Paulo, and I believe they were having some internet issues. So at some point the stream might be a little bit choppy. They might even cut our casters for a little bit. Just bear with us on that. Coming back to, your opponent double blocking. So 2 things. One thing is that they see that you have a Cull, right? So if they leak even 1, they know that they can potentially get culled, and if you're holding a Blood Debt, you might not effectively lose a card, because they don't know that you're holding a Reduced Rune Chant. And then they effectively lose 1 card anyway, as well as a life loss because of the block. So it could be that, or it could be that they're just trying to sort of put you in that fork that you were talking about at the beginning, right? Make you set up big turns and punish you for only sending 1 Rune Gate a turn. I guess with that block, are you now thinking, this person's going to block me out whenever they get the chance, and so now I need to set up double, triple Rune Gate turns?
Yeah, definitely trying to suss out what he wants to do in this matchup in the first couple of turns. Just double checking right here on an ability. He's activating Zen with the Chi. Try to double check if I can cull him before he can get a Tiger in his hand, or not. So which is the judge call that I'm asking currently. He does not get the. I have a moment to where I can cull him before he gets the Crouching Tiger in his hand to snipe that last card out of his hand. Which is super important, so it doesn't, in case he's trying to do a chase the line turn or trying to keep that a defensive reaction arsenal, I can kind of force through something else. And I already have multiple Blood Debt cards in my hand on this turn, so as you see here, I culled. It got his 0 for 3 from his hand that's starting to make a Crouching Tiger. He was trying to do a chase the line turn here, but because I banish it, he has to get something else off his thing. And then I have a Deathly Delight in my
So that's actually really interesting, right? Because if he did get to chase the tail, you could actually snipe it anyway, because he has to chase the tail first, right? So, like, he has to Tiger to chase the tail holding aspect, in which case you could cull after the chase the tail, and he's forced to banish it. So, was he even allowed to get chase the tail to begin with, even if you didn't play the cull, I guess?
Yeah, it's interesting if I don't have a Blooded card in my hand to be able to cast the cull in the first place, and I'm trying to minimize kind of the amount of damage I'm taking this early step, although I'm going to take a couple damage here because I'm going to, play the defense reaction from my hand to be able to get to 3 rune chants here. And I'm just kind of waiting for more opportunities. I'm waiting for more opportunities to have a bigger turn and set up, like, to play that Revel in my arsenal at this time. So just kind of hanging out here for a little bit. And because I played the Cole and put the Blooded card there, I don't have a second Blooded card in my hand, unfortunately, on this turn. So this Haunting Rendition, which I want to discard to take less damage, actually just needs to be a rune chant on this turn, because I have a Malefic in my hand that I want to set up, which is way more important in the future than keeping something else. And because I have that third rune chant here, I'm just going to send it here as well and put the Malefic triggers on the stack here and go 3 and 5. So he doesn't have an arsenal, so if he is going to take all of this damage here, he needs to pitch a blue and double block to stop, like, my game life. But if not, if he wants to play his hand, he has to take a decent amount of damage on this turn, and I need all the chip damage I can in this game, so when I do the double or triple attacks later in the game, they can get him.
So, I guess, when are you starting to try and set up the double, triple attack turn, I suppose? Because if you had a Deathly Delight in Banish already, like, if you spend, like, next couple of turns setting up with the Revel and Arsenal, then is that... Like, when are you deciding, okay, now is when I'm going to start setting up 2 or 3 rune gates in my Banish before I start sending them, instead of just sending them one by one? Do you need a Go Again card in your arsenal, like a Shadow Puppetry or like a Tear Through the Portal or something like that?
It's kind of the same. Like, on this turn, I do draw a Shadow Puppetry, so it is pretty good for me to do that here. But it really just depends on how, like, the flow of the game. Vynnset is not like every single time that you see this, you do this kind of a deck. It is very you ride the line. You're taking so much damage, and you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, basically, like, in your games, because you don't have a lot of chances to play out your big hands, and when you do, you have to really capitalize them, because you take a lot of damage to do it. You take all the blood debt, you take all the damage from your opponent as well. Like, in this hand, I would have loved if I had another attack in my Banish, because I have the Shadow Puppetry, have the Revel, so I can be able to play everything, which I'm trying to dig to, and I see that he has, he comes in for each check for 7, trying to Arsenal a card, and I think this is a great time to face Purgatory here. Gets a lot of value here, gets to draw the extra card, and I know I'm going to have I'm going to go to the Go Again with the Shadow Puppetry, play out the Revel and Blood, and I can basically Arsenal any card of my deck at that point, which is pretty good. Arsenaling the attacks is also still very good in this deck, because anytime you can basically set up another attack, it's very, very good.
So I guess I kind of want to go back to the previous turn cycle then, when you send a Deathly Delight. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess this could definitely be hindsight. But in hindsight, I suppose, because you said that you would have loved to have an extra attack in your Banish right now, if you were to play this game again, would you have not sent a Deathly Delight on the previous turn, so that this turn you can have a proper double Rune Gate turn, instead of Deathly Will into what looks to be Flail of Agony?
Yeah, I think in this game specifically, I would have liked to not send it and have something else in my Banish, which is the reason kind of I didn't, Banish Cole on turn 0, is because I wanted to have an attack there. But I'm still trying to test what he really wants to do in this game. From the first couple turns, he's kind of like dancing in between, and he hasn't really committed if he wants to, kind of block me out or not. This is specifically the turn to where I kind of realize that he is going to go on a more of defensive approach and make me set up these turns, punish me on the turns that I have to set up to do something else as well, because he did, block 6 here, AB3 here, when he actually has a pretty good hand here. Like, he has able to transcend with that +1 chi, has a starter basically in his hand as well. So I get to do the Revel and Rueblood plus the Deathly Whale thing here. I have 7 Rune Chants plus that sword coming in, so I'm presenting a lot of damage on this turn specifically. And he gets to basically, I get to take the extra damage, but he gets to AB 4 on these Rune Chants here as well. So he's giving up this huge turn from himself. You know, he has the blue 100 wins into the +1. He also has the Ancestral to do something. And so this is where I'm like, my alarm bells are ringing of like, he is trying to more block me out than trying to race me as the type of Zen that he's playing. Which now I'm more thinking about keeping an extra attack on my banish and stuff like that. But, you know, he could still race me at the very early, so I wanted to send those.
That makes sense. Yeah, we have to really commend Ivan here for his gameplay in this game, I think. Like, he played this so disciplined. Like, exactly what you said, right? He had the Transcend, could have sent a bunch of damage, but he's saying, oh, you are ending this turn with no Rune Gate and Banish. If you keep playing like this, Peter, you will get fatigued. So he's just putting the onus on you and saying, I'll just convert when you give me the space to convert, and otherwise I'm just going to keep blocking you out, which is, I think, to your point at the beginning, you said that's exactly how Zen should play this matchup, correct?
Yeah, that's the high level of this matchup is the Zen coming in and out in a very direct way of knowing when he needs to be able to block you out and when not to block you out, basically, in the state of the game. And Ivan did it perfectly in this game, as we can see. It's kind of a masterclass from the Zen side of like what he can accomplish as well. Also, I don't have a Rune Chant starting this turn, but I get bailed out by the Eloquent Eulogy, being a 1-for-4 here. Also, you can kind of hard cast a lot of the attacks when you have 0 Rune Chants in your hand when they give you the full 4 cards, so it's not as bad. But I really want to get this Eulogy down because I can do some pretty cool things here with the Eloquence token, which I'm going to do on this turn. Eloquent Eulogy, the Rune Chant got a hit, so I'm always going to get the effect of getting an Eloquence token here. So I get to do the Eloquence, and then I get to play this Funeral Moon at instant speed because he's taken damage this turn, and he gets to go again, netting myself that extra action point and getting another Rune Chant here. And then coming in with additional 2-for-6 from my hand, pitching that Succumb for kind of a second cycle way of getting another go again. Actually, I do have I forgot that I had the Deathly Will yellow in my arsenal, which is extremely good because I'm going to end on a Rune Chant no matter what, because it sees that if my opponent has taken damage this turn. So 100%, I'm going to have 1 Rune Chant. I can pay every 2-for-6 in 2 costs in my deck the following turn because I get to banish a card at the start of my turn with Vynnset. So very good turn. Get to do a double attack turn without having basically any setup in the entire game.
Yeah. I guess you could have also paid a life to Funeral Moon to get an extra Rune Chant at the end of this turn. Correct? Is that worth it? Or
yeah, usually it would be worth it. I think this was one of the mistakes I made in this game, is like actually not playing specifically on this turn, because now I can only play every 2 cost in my hand and not every 3 cost that I'm going to get in the next turn, which I believe I get immediately punished on this turn as well, thinking back on it, because I do draw a 3 cost in my hand, which I would have really liked to play because it's the one that banishes his arsenal as well, which is going to be that widespread
destruction.
Widespread destruction.
The runes in your arsenal. And that's actually, oh my god, yeah, because I think this is the turn you end up popping Quill Hand, and it comes back to the previous turn not paying a life for Funeral Moon, right? That's like exactly, like this is the punish.
Yeah, this was one of the key mistakes I made on this game when I reviewed it coming through, and like especially like right now, every single time I'm like, man, I really wish I would have did something a little bit different on the previous turn. So it's the reason why Vynnset is really hard to play, is that these micro decisions, messing up these micro decisions is not like the very next turn you get punished, or 3 turns down the line you get punished, and it kind of really matters because to be able to 4 attack your opponent on a lot of these Vynnset lines, you need Quill Hand, just because of how like the Rune Chants work out, or you need Deathly Will or something like that. So it is pretty interesting. But this is a really good turn for me no matter what. I just have to pop the Quill Hand, which is like the consistency piece for me. And you know, popping in on turn 5, it's not like super bad, but I know I'm gonna this game is going to go long, so not having that consistency piece for like the entire game is kind of scary, but not as bad because I get to have that Shadow Puppetry here, so both of us are going to take a damage off of this Rune Chant, so I know I'm going to banish his Arsenal. So if he arsenals anything besides a D-React here, I can just snipe it basically for free with his Widespread Destruction, and I get to come in with that 2 for 6 from my Arsenal as well. So I've gone back-to-back turns doing multi-attacks, which is going to chip him out a decent amount. So I don't actually have to set up an enormous like 4 attack thing late game if I'm doing this much damage to him at the beginning of the game, basically. So I'm feeling pretty good at this moment during the game, but I have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, losing Quill Hand it does save you this turn, but it is a bailout you only have once in the entire game, right? So it could be rough. And you're checking the Shadow Puppetry top card here. I think it's it's a Widespread Annihilation, I believe, which is that's just too much of an ask, right? You have no Malefics, this is not a Deathly Whale, so just leave that on top.
Yeah, I'm always going to banish it. It was a Malefic, okay. I believe, that I banished. That we'll see in our banish zone. There was a little bit of technical difficulties. I know round 1, just because like first round of the day, sometimes you got some technical difficulties better than the finals, but it was a Malefic that was on top, and I'm going to banish a card 100% because I'm playing that 2 for 6 from my Arsenal that's going to banish the top card, because I've taken a damage and my opponent's taking a damage. We're both going to banish something. So you see that Malefic in my banish, and I actually hit a really good one off the top of his library, which was a Chase the Tail, which is super important. But something that happens pretty uniquely in Vynnset is I actually have a pretty brick hand here. You know, the only thing I can banish here that's a Blood Debt card is a 4 cost, which I just can't play. Although I do draw something that would allow me to banish a 3 cost and play it this turn. And Avon was a homie here. I think I should still banish this just because I could probably play it the next turn. So I don't have to banish that. The
Reduce Rune Chant.
Reduce the Rune Chant. Yeah, I was trying to remember what the name was. Reduce the Rune Chant. I'm a very picture-based person, so the text of the card is hard to remember here. But this is what happens in Vynnset sometimes. Like, the consistency kind of goes low. I wasn't able to play anything this turn, but with a 5-card hand, basically, because I have no setup, really nothing to do, and it's the reason why Vynnset always wants to go first to try to get that additional setup going, and why Malefics have been so important for this deck coming out of Rosetta for this set. So
right, but you did end up having a fairly decent setup turn. You get to put a Widespread Annihilation in your banish and make 3 Rune Chants, which means on the following turn you can 100% send it. You just banish your card to Vynnset, and now you can send this thing. So I guess this is the beginnings of maybe a potentially, like you mentioned a few turns ago, you had alarm bells ringing in your head that you need to like double, triple Rune Gate potentially. So is this, I guess, kind of like what we're seeing over here? And you're holding back a Reduce too, so you're also able to like defend yourself a little bit if he tries to punish your setup. Yeah,
the Reduce is very good. I'm going to go to 5 Rune Chants basically on the next turn, which is a lot of Rune Chants. It demands a double blue. And this is actually an insane turn because I have the Widespread Annihilation here with 5 Rune Chants. Like, I'm basically always going to do an amazing amount of damage basically to my opponent, or like force every single point of damage. And I have a Machinations, yes, I believe, in my hand on this turn, allowing me to have Overpower, which is super, super important because I basically know this is going to hit unless he has a reaction on the specific hand, or he uses both, 2 equipment pieces basically to do it, which is very, very important. And I have the 1 for 4 in my hand because this is going to get Go again, and I can just tunic 1 for 4 as well. Just perfect, basically perfect resource system on this turn.
Except for, yeah, as you can see, what's about to happen here?
As you can see, he stops me in front of the Rune Chant and actually just draws a Natty Chi here to make a Zen State token, which is completely blows me out basically on this turn. Basically, instead of having to pitch 2 cards minimum to not get a card out of his hand. He's just a Zen State and block every rune chant that I am coming in on this turn. And has overpower, so it gets to prevent one on the overpower as well. And he didn't have a react on this turn as well, so this Zen State putting in an incredible amount of work, because not only is it going to be for this turn, it kind of forces me to not attack on the following turn because none of my rune chants are to go in. So I'm forced to take a setup turn no matter what
and you also just took a setup turn as well, and you also have like a call for this turn. That's an incredible blowout.
Yeah, like if he would have had to pitch pretty much every card, like both cards in his hand, use this defensive reaction, and an extra card, like he would have had to use all 5 cards to block out this turn, if he didn't have the Zen State, basically, and now he gets to do so much here as well. I'm trying to force out an extra card from his hand. Usually Zen can play very good 2-card hands, but I'm going to attack him for 4 here. I still have that widespread text on here, so he has to block this, but he just had the Flick Flack, so he gets to 1 card basically block for 5 here. But I do have a Cole, so Cole is both an aggressive piece and a setup piece for this deck. Cold Cottage does everything. I think it was like basically the reason why Vynnset is actually even playable right now. It's just Cole on both sides of the turns is just super, super good. It allows you to set up, 2 attack hands when you only have 1, like without anything in your banish besides Cole, and just so much more. Taking a card from both players' hand is incredible when you can play the card that you banish and your opponent can't, because you always are getting 3 value from the card, and my opponent not blocking is better than me attacking them, basically. So this setup turn is actually pretty interesting. I have another Cole, a Funeral Moon, a red Deathly Whale, and a red Widespread Rune. And I've had a couple of turns with this arsenal, which was Tear Through the Portal, which if you don't know what Tear Through the Portal, it's not really a used card in basically anything else. But you can give a target red action, which is very key. A red action, not just an attack action, a red action, go again. Specifically why that's important is that Tear Through the Portal red can target Cole, and it's a shadow non-attack, so you can pay 1 life with Vynnset. And if you target Cole or Funeral Moon, and you play it at instant speed with Go Again with the Tear Through the Portal, you actually get an extra action point. So you get 2 action points, so it's another way of, if you don't have a red attack in your banish zone, of getting that extra action point to double attack as well. And start off your turn, especially if you have a Eulogy token, you can do some crazy things with Eulogy tokens in this deck with Cole and Funeral Moon. But this was a great setup turn for me because I can banish an attack, which I believe I banished the Deathly Whale red on this turn, and then I can play the Funeral Moon. I'm going to go to 2 rune chants, and then the following turn I can always play that Deathly Whale because I'll have 3 rune chants no matter what. So pretty good setup turn. Did not want to see that because he does get to have a 5-card hand into my setup turn, which is the reason why Zen is very good into this matchup. The quantity of blues is one of those decks that can punish those setup turns a lot. When you play against like Yorl, for example, and you have to take these setup turns, sometimes they just like sledge you for 6, and you're like, well, that didn't really do anything. It's not like really punishing my thing at all. But Zen is one of those decks that if you take an off turn, they're gonna let you know that you took it off.
Yeah, this is very different from the previous time you gave Ivan the whole turn cycle. The previous time he didn't have an arsenal. Like he just had 4 cards, like 4 random cards off the top. Whereas this time, I think I caught a glimpse of it. I think his arsenal is like a mauling cheese. So, but at the same time, is what you said earlier, right? Because he made the Zen State, you kind of don't have the option to not set up. You kind of just have to set up. And this is a very interesting decision by you. So you play the Funeral Moon and you pay the life with Vynnset so that you can play the Cull at instant speed. Is that just you being like you spoke about how Cull's like really good on your 2 and 3 like double triple rune gate turns, but you deploy it over here. Is that firstly just to save yourself 1 point of blood debt, and also are you just a little bit scared of giving Zen the entire 5 cards? I guess.
Well, actually, I'm calling and putting another Cole in my banish zone. I'm more scared of him having this 5 card, and I'm trying to make the turn as awkward as possible. Basically, I know I'm gonna take 2 blood debt, like on the next turn, like on this turn to go down to like 19 or something, and I believe I'm actually going to play double. I don't remember if I played double cool or not on this turn. I think I decided not to and just take 2. But I'm really worried about the 5-card hand, right? Like I'm at 20. I'm going to go to 19 on this turn, and I'm just kind of worried about taking too much damage and not being able to get back into this game. Avon has played it kind of perfectly at the start, and drawn well from like what he can do. And if he can punish me on this turn specifically with maybe a transcend into something else, I'm kind of worried. But I get a little build up because he did have a transcend card hit with the start of the pot, but he didn't have another blue to kind of pair with it, which is pretty good for me on this turn because hopefully I won't take that much damage.
Yeah, and he has shown us some D-reacts, right? We saw the flick flags and stuff, so there's a chance he has bricked, and I guess that's what I'm hoping for. It looks like he did, actually, just sending stick into Mauling Chi.
Yeah, I had a big exhale when I just see a Mauling Chi for 5 on this turn. I had to make the decision, right? Like if he has a 5-card hand and his 5-card hand is very good, I really need to call him on the previous turn. But I would have loved to keep the extra call in my hand specifically. And even on this turn, it's kind of a nod. I'm only going to attack him 1 time. I'm going to be able to attack him 2 times on this turn because I drew the 1 for 4 and a Malefic. So I get to go to 3 rune chance. I get to play this Malefic. I get to play the Tear Through the Portal, getting myself and pinging myself with the Tear Through the Portal going down to 16, which, I was just saying that that I'm kind of scared about my life total, but I'm paying 1 off all of my Vynnset effects, right? So, I'm playing in that line. I can't play scared in this game too much, but I have to be very, very wary of how much I'm going to do. And I think it's super important as well, just like going to note this, that I'm putting like 1 rune chant that he can't prevent, and then the 2. I think Vynnset is like something that not a lot of people play against very often, and has a very, very, very technical things. So helping both players do this as well. And I'm also doing something that's pretty unique. The first one is unpreventable, so I can play this Cole at instant speed, and he's pitching his blue to prevent 2, so he's going 1 less card in his hand, and I'm going to Cole him, so he's down to 2 cards in his hand, so he's actually forced to pretty much block this Deathly Whale, and because I've paid a life into it and he's taken a life, I'm going to end this turn on 2 rune chants. So he's going to block 6 here. I get to play this rune chant plus this 4 here, so he gets to take 4, so I'm chipping him down more, and I'm going to end this turn with 2 rune chants, but he does have the D-reaction arsenal, which was unfortunate, so I don't get to do the 4 damage here. But I do get to end on 2 rune chants, so I can play every 3 costs in my deck, and I get to end on a Eulogy. Amazing setup at this point. I have 2 rune chants, a Eulogy token, and a Malefic incantation on my side, which is quite perfect. I can basically play anything in my deck. But Vynnset, she giveth and she taketh. Drew another hand, which is like not a blood debt card in it, which is pretty unfortunate on this turn. But trying to make the most out of it specifically, and trying to decide. There is a correct answer. I have 2 go again spells basically in my hand, and I should just banish one of them, which the Tear Through the Portal red is the weakest out of the 2. The Malefic one is definitely the Machinations is definitely better. I get to play this Malefic incantation, and I say pass, and Avon is like, oh, I got out of this one. 1 brick to another basically. So.
Yeah, and once again, when he doesn't have an arsenal, that's kind of when you want to push. And yeah, you have the Eloquence plus Rune Chance plus a Malefic to really punish it. And I think that's another unsaid sort of disadvantage that Vynnset has in this matchup. Because Zen gets to take it for so long, you are sort of bound to have a brick turn as Vynnset, right? Like, I believe this game goes like 16 turns. So like, I guess not counting pit stack, like it does go the full length of your deck. And just inherent inconsistency of Vynnset means that Zen will just get that point in the game where you just do no blood debt. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you think like the length of the game doesn't really have much to do with it?
Yeah, I would probably say usually you brick once per game with Vynnset, maybe twice per game, just depending on how long he goes. Sometimes you can get, not lucky. Like, you play enough Blood Deck cards to where theoretically you should have one per turn, but math doesn't always work out 100% that way. But it is kind of unfortunate, but you kind of have to, you're signing up for that, right? Like I've played a lot of decks like Kano to where, you have a fail rate, right? Like Vynnset does a very powerful thing. You get to do 1 card 9s with this deck, right? And, like 2 card like 25s. So because I get to do all these powerful things, there has to be some balance, and breaking is the balance, unfortunately. But kind of be able to take the amount of damage that I can, like trying to take the least amount of damage that I can on these turns, is what I'm hoping for. He actually has a really good turn here, unfortunately, as well, with the Tiger Stripe for 5 coming in, and that Mauling Key for 5 as well. I can't really afford to double block this and come in with something on the following turn. And I know he's going to come in for an additional 6 damage, basically, with the key on the next attack. I do have, I believe, what is a reduce the rune chance in my arsenal on this turn. And I'm going to have a Deathly Wail. You can see I'm kind of counting the cards I have left in my deck and what I've seen and not seen here, just to see if I have a real chance of if I can block with these Go Again cards or not, or if I have to keep it. I have an Incantation red, a Deathly Wail red, a Shadow Puppetry, and a Machinations in this hand with the reduced rune chance and arsenal. I'm really just trying to decide, can I block with one of these Go Agains, or do I have to arsenal it, right? The Shadow Puppetry, does the Shadow Puppetry attack have to hit? And if it does hit, like, can I hit a good Blood Deck card off the top to maybe double attack on this turn? That's the biggest high roll I can do on this turn. So I have to keep the Shadow Puppetry. I have to keep the Malefic. I basically have to keep the one of the 3 blocks in my hand, which is the Deathly Wail red, because I have to banish a card at the start, or I won't have a turn. So this turn specifically, I'm like, can I block with the Machinations or not? Which my inclination is pretty much a no here. I'm just going to take the 5, go down to 8, and then I will block from 4 from Arsenal and take additional 2, go to 6. But this game's not looking too hot here. At 6 to my opponent's 22, I know I don't have a for sure double attack. My opponent's been pretty much blocking me out whenever he can. So this Shadow Puppetry most likely won't hit to do something else. So I need that Go Again card in my arsenal to be able to have a chance at winning this game later into it. I'm giving myself the most amount of chances to get back into this game and win this game, right? Like, I'm at 6 to 22, and you'll see here with the Shadow Puppetry, I'm going to take another damage to go down to 5, right? You can't play scared with this deck. You have to thread that line. You gotta hit it sometimes here. I got 5 rune chance coming in with this Deathly Wail for 7, and I'm hoping that maybe he gets a little greedy. Like maybe he gets just greedy enough to let this Deathly Wail hit, trying to close the game out, and like hit another attack and close that life gap as much as possible.
To your point about arsenaling a Go Again, you also know you're going to end this turn with a whole bunch of rune chance, right? Because of Shadow non-attack with Deathly Wail and triple Malefics means you're ending the turn with 5 rune chance. So you're kind of like super incentivized to make sure you have the Go Again for the following turn. But you will also need an extra banisher, right? If I'm not mistaken, so you can actually double rune gate or from the Go Again.
The key of this turn is because I have the triple Malefic, I can play every single card basically that I'm going to banish off the top besides 1. So I can play every 3 costs or less if my Shadow Puppetry hits. And if I don't break the chain, the Deathly Wail trigger is going to happen. I'm going to end the turn with 2 rune chance. So basically, no matter what, I'm going to have a lot of rune chance at the end of this turn. And I'm just kind of hoping that he doesn't have enough to do it. And he blocks 3 here, and I give myself a little hope. I'm like, I put up the 4, let you take the 4 here. Hopefully, he kind of thinks a little bit. He's like, can I arsenal this, like what I have left, basically? And he ends up having the D-React here to block this for 7 perfectly. And it's nothing really I can do on this turn. I don't really want to flail because I'm now low enough to where like flailing here for no additional value, you can just kind of put like the last card in his hand in front of it or put any of these equipment in front of it. And then I remind him of my trigger, go to 5 rune chance, but can play basically anything. I have the go again thing, so I can hard cast something from I can hard cast something from my hand and play something from banish here as well. Specifically, a little fun thing here, the life total thing that shows on stream like died on our end, so we were just like awkwardly looking at each other. We were like, what do we do? So we were like, let's call a judge. So, which is a very fun fact. We were just like middle of the game, super sweating, end game state 5-22. We're like, the thing died, please help us.
Okay, looks like they sorted that out. Okay, so coming to your turn now.
Yep.
It looks like you have a Phantom Banshee, 2 Phantom Banshees, a Deadwood Dirge, and a Revel and Runeblood. So you have the go again. You still haven't used your creepers, and you've got a tunic up to actually use the creepers, but you don't have an extra banisher, which is that's once again like the complication, the sort of thing that Vynnset asks you for, right? Like you also want to like have a cull and banish or something, like something lets you banish, put an extra rune gate in there, because otherwise you might have the action point, and the rune chance, but you just don't have a way to rune gate it.
Yeah, which was an argument for me to not play the Coals earlier in the game. I think playing the Coal on the turn to where I get to do like the 4-cost rune gate into the 1-for-4 is actually correct. But at the very a couple turns ago, I played the Coal just to try to get him off of a 5-card hand. I could probably have just gambited and hopefully he just doesn't have it. It doesn't have a good 5-card hand. He did brick on that turn, just going the stick into the 1-for-5. But played a little scared on that turn, and it made it so I'm losing enough resources to not be able to do as much, and he's kind of weathering the storm. I got triple Malefic out, which is pretty good. I'm attacking for 6 rune chance and 7 with like overpower on this turn, like 1 card 13 basically, which is very, very scary, right? Like one card 13, like even when he's up 5-20 is pretty scary on the end. But I get the unfortunate news that he wants to block with his helmet, which is always one of the things that the Mystic Heroes gets to do, and you're always like, oh no, he's blocking with the helmet. Like, what do I do? So, hope it's not that bad. So.
I think he's just doing it here just for extra pitch, right? Because you're showing that you have go again and 3 rune chance, so he's kind of just like, all right, I'm just gonna save an extra 3 life. Traverse became a block 5 effectively on this turn, I think, which again I think just goes to show Ivan's understanding of the matchup, right? He's not using his Traverse offensively, he's using it defensively.
Yeah, 100%. This game he didn't really have a lot of offensive output that he could have done on this time. When he could have chased the tail of me early, I called him. Which was a very good defensive portion of the turn for me, and so he wasn't able to chase the tail every single time. He has a big hand. I've forced on hits that are not that good, and he got that extra chi, but I have to send my hand here. I'm making 7 rune chance basically on this turn, so I'm gonna take an extra 1 on flail, go down and send 9 rune chance and a flail here. I know he has a chi in his hand, but I'm at least going to do 6 damage here if he has an additional red in his hand. So I'm going to hope. I don't have that many avenues to win this game, but I'm trying to play for basically anything I can, right? Like I'm not going to get a rune chant from this flail even if it hits because of the Revel and Runeblood, and then I'm going to Arsenal, I believe a widespread
Phantom
monster, if I remember correctly. Phantom Banshee, which is the 3 for 7. Yeah, I'm thinking the 2 for 6. It's always so hard to remember what the names of this deck. So
it looks like Ivan had another blue
he actually,
alongside that chi.
I know. Yeah, another blue. Couldn't keep him with like a red as well. So he takes 4, and I'm not gonna get a rune chant back. Like I pointed to the Revel and Runeblood. So I don't have a lot of go again cards left in my deck. I don't really have a lot of natural blood debt left in my deck. Ivan has done a really good job of weathering the storm, knowing when he needed to block, when not to block. But Vynnset can always do some crazy things. I didn't get to do a creeper's turn just yet. I still have a possibility of like double or triple attacking my opponent with the creepers at this point in the game. So it's not 100% over, but I'm gonna try my best on this to see if he gets a little too greedy. You know, like when your opponent's like sub 5 life total, you're like, oh, the game's over. You know, but just like this, you know, I'm coming in for 1 rune chant and 6 here, making a rune chant on the back end so that my widespread rune that's going to be in the banish, I can play it the following turn as well. But I'm setting 6 with an on hit, like one rune chant and 6 with the on hit. So I'm making him, you know, at least banish 1 card if he wants to take 7 here and go down to 9. So he can just play a 4-card hand to try to maybe finish me off at 4. But he, you know, is posturing 2 cards. To give still more respect to it, which is just like super tight play. He knows that I'm not going to have, you know, that many power turns left in the game, and he's just making sure that there's nothing that I could have that could blow him out of this situation.
Yeah, he's noticing that you're ending with no malefics, just 1 rune chant and 1 card in banish, and you're going down to 3 already because of Blood Debt. He's kind of just like, cool, show me we can do it. Now, to your point about the Creeper still being up, also the Grimoire, right? Like both of those pieces can let you go ahead and have a multi-rune gate turn. But something I want to ask you, with your opponent at 16, is 1 double rune gate turn even going to get you there? It sounds like you might need 2 potentially to get there, and like, is that probably just too much to ask at this point?
If I have a triple attack turn, he's in range of dying still. So it does look like pretty grim here. Obviously, like 3 to 16 it is pretty grim. But even though he's still playing as though he could die, which he knows he can die at 16. If I get to have, you know, a triple attack, like I have an arsenal that could be an attack. I could Tunic Creepers, like a go again with playing this widespread rune, maybe blue pitch into something else, maybe play a Malefic and then be able to play every single thing from my hand, and you know, I might be able to get there. So he's playing very well here as well, and you know, he has an amazing 2-card hand here as well, just going to get to 1 into 4. But I do have that Haunting Rendition to, you know, get an additional rune chant and block pretty efficiently on this turn as well. But yeah, pretty much going to need a double, like 2 double rune gate turns or 1-3 rune gate turn to have you know, a chance of winning this game at this point.
Yeah, and the problem is because you're so low, he's like, even that play from him, which was what, I think it was 6 damage total? No, it was like 5 damage total, still took cards from you, so you can't even set up like triple. And you also don't have enough time to keep setting up because you are bleeding out to Blood Debt. So
yeah, if we were, you know, say 13-16 here, and I was able to banish this Deathly Will, like I would have just banished it and passed, right? Like, and knowing that I could like triple on the next turn because I'm gonna have a go again card most likely in the next hand from like what's left of my deck. But at 3, I don't have that luxury, you know. Like I have to send it. I have to hope that he takes, you know, a couple chip damage here and there and kind of gets down to it, you know. He pitches for pitches for the rune chance here, blocks 3, takes 3 down to 13. I go down to 2 with the widespread rune as well, and you know, the damage might be, you know, might seem negligible, but if I have a Gogan spell in my arsenal and I can double the next turn, you know, it might be enough. So, but he is kind of closing in right here. You know, we got the Kakara here to go again. I'm thinking, you know, what could I do? You know, I got to succumb, you know, some widespread annihilations in my hand on this turn, a yellow Malefic. So my avenue of winning is being able to somehow resolve this yellow Malefic and then just like basically getting it here with another attack. But I get the unfortunate news that there is indeed a chi in his hand to get a chase the tail line, so he gets to go 2-1-4 into 3 here, which basically is the nail in the coffin on this turn, right? Like the Zen deck, you know, doesn't have that much of a fail rate, right? You know, maybe you get to send 7 damage sometimes, but you know, this is just an insane turn from him, just 2-card hand, right? Which is Zen's bread and butter, you know. So
yeah,
blocking, you know, with my creepers that I didn't really have anything to do with in this game with it, and then, which is kind of unfortunate. And I'm keeping that yellow Malefic because I just need a card that is not going to deal damage to me because I'm at 1, and I'm gonna banish, go to 2 rune chance, and send this 2 for 6 here, and unfortunately couldn't find the avenues this game basically, and did not play to the highest potential, I would probably say. Or as earlier, we saw the Funeral Moon that was cast at instant speed that I could have ended on an additional rune chant if I paid a life, which I didn't, and it punished me the very next turn having to use my cool hand. Maybe didn't take the most risky line, played a Cole so he wasn't on a 5-card hand. If I was a little bit more greedy with that Cole maybe in this game, I could set up a double or triple rune gate turn that to try to push the damage through. He lives at, he takes 6 here off this widespread rune. Maybe if I put him even lower, maybe this would be threatening lethal instead of him just being able to take it and 100% having it. So not the 100% cleanest game from my side, I'll admit, but this is something that is great to look back on in your games especially, and just be like, it's quite good. Also, he has Passover, which you don't know. If he would have Passover me on the last turn, he actually would have killed me because I couldn't have played any card that had Blood in my hand. But he's kind of styling on me here, bro. Ivan's Avon's kind of a show mash kind of guy, so he gets the Sacred Art Jade Tiger Domain for me.
Yeah.
So it ended me off on this turn, but he's a great guy. But yeah, Vynnset super powerful deck, right? Ended up 7-0ing the Battle Hardened and losing in quarterfinals on Sunday after losing this round 1 of the calling and not having a really good calling, but bouncing back. Like, the deck does some very powerful things, but sometimes you've got to thread the needle of getting fatigued, not getting fatigued, and overall different things.
And it seems like you need to have a very thorough understanding of your power cards, and also kind of the state of the game in a sense, like when you need to switch to your double rune gate, when you can afford to play the cull, when you can afford to pop your quill hand, etc.
Yeah, and every game changes, which is super important with Vynnset, right? Like, how your opponent plays against you, how you're playing the matchup spread, everything, like, during the game, the early to the mid game to the late game, can change on people's opinions on the state of the game. And, Avon does a really good job of, kind of, first couple turns, maybe giving me a little bit of hope that he's going to try to, race me and not fatigue me the entire time. Kind of settles in turn 3, turn 4 of being like, you need to be able to show me that you can get over all of this. And me having some really good turns, but him having the answer every time. The Chi on the 5 rune chant turn, which I'm going to double attack him on, which was very, very good turn for me. He has the D reaction arsenal on multiple turns that matters, and he's IP1ing himself, IP2ing himself, just to make sure that he has these answers in place, which was just a masterful from him as well. So playing as Vynnset and against Vynnset is pretty hard, but it's riding the line between it. So
awesome. Well, that was a treat to watch. Thank you so much again for coming on and giving us your insight. It was super valuable to get in the mind of a top level Vynnset player, which is a bit of a rare commodity these days. Even though the hero is strong this meta, I would say, I think the level of skill required is rare. And to have someone who has as much experience as you do on the deck come on, it's been very, very insightful. I hope all the viewers enjoyed it as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Vynnset's super fun. Very unique deck. Honestly, I try to find, a lot of, maybe some YouTubers that had some Vynnset content, and it was hard to find. There's not a lot of people that are putting, a lot of time into the deck, and I think this is the time, it's a good meta for the deck as well, and hopefully I can perform in the future with it, so we get a little bit more content out there for the boys,
for sure. Hoping to see you on stream again, maybe even cast one of your games on Vynnset, and hopefully this time have a bit more of a positive result. Well, with that, thank you again for coming on, and that was episode 2 of Replay Analysis with the Pros. Thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you in the next one.